I guess, Marge, you were wondering why this, or why you brought this subject up. Maybe you're just expanding your community a little bit here. Anyway, I think the first thing I want to say, folks, is that I think anything I'm about to say, I don't expect you to believe it. It would be unreasonable, I think, to believe the kinds of things I'm about to say because you just simply don't have the evidence for it. But I would say, and I think Ian said this rather well, is that don't be hasty in embracing these ideas, but also don't be hasty in rejecting them. Keep your minds open, examine the content, and if it makes sense to you, fine, it's yours. If it doesn't, move on to something else. So nobody's trying to persuade anybody of anything here. Nobody's selling anything. We're just presenting, I guess, viewpoints, you might say. Now, I guess before launching into this, I should define channeling as I understand it. And if you can imagine a being on another planet, and just suspend your judgment here for a minute, who wants to have a communication with a human on Earth. Well, that being would use a channeler. And the being sends a message to the channeler telepathically. And the technology I don't understand, but somehow the channeler's brain, voice box, vocal cords, vocabulary, mouth, and maybe other body parts all engage in some way to verbalize that message for others to hear it. Now, I've been working with channelers for about 3.5 years. It dropped on my lap out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't looking for it. But some of my hypnosis clients began to channel. And I've had over 400 recorded conversations with beings that purport to be from elsewhere. I'm going to today show you just a little snippets of some of the recordings that I've had. And unfortunately, this is like a 2-hour presentation condensed down to 15 minutes here. So you're only going to get little teasers, but you can go to my website and you can see the full blown recordings. I want to point out too, excuse me, I'm not a channeler. My role is to facilitate other people to become channelers and to work with them if they care to bring this to the public. And some of them do. I've worked with 58 people so far who are all channeling. 16 of them have brought it to the public, and some of them are working towards that goal. I think the best way to get into this is to go to my website, and here, Marge, I would like to share the screen. And I think if I do this, yeah, you get to see my screen, and then I can bring up my website. And you can do this as well. I don't suggest you do it now, but you can do it afterwards. And if you click on channelers, ooh, things are slow today. You'll see 16 of the women who have become channelers. You can see their contact information, and you can see some sample recordings. Now I'm going to select just a few of them. Here's Karen Ashby. I interviewed Karen. She has attended Connecting the Community a few times. She has lived in Richmond Hill. She is now in Stouffville. Grew up in North York, and I'm not sure what happened here. Here we go. I'll just show you a little bit from Karen to introduce her, and then she channels the Palladians, among others. I'll expand the screen. At least I think I will. Seem to have been stalled here. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this time that I'm spending with Karen Ashby. Karen is my guest tonight, and Karen, welcome.
Thank you very much, Peter. It's great
I was
to
going to
see
say
you.
welcome to the show, welcome to the program. I'm not sure what this is. It's usually ends up being a conversation. Karen, to kick things off a little bit, I'm sure our audience would like to know a little about you, and maybe you could just fill us in a bit on Things like where you grew up and, how you earned a living, things like that.
Well, I grew up in North York, at Victoria Park in Lawrence, and I have a younger sister of 3 years, and I hope she's watching tonight. That would be exciting because she doesn't really know anything about my channeling. I went to Trent University, and then I got married and had a daughter who's now living in Buffalo and just turned 40. I can't believe it. It's funny how we never seem to get older, but they do.
Yeah.
Although some days I feel a lot older than I am. I brought her up in Richmond Hill, and at somewhere along the line I met you because you live in Richmond Hill too. And it's been an interesting journey since I first met Pleiadians. I channeled quite a.
Okay, I'm gonna move along here a little bit and see Karen bringing in the Pleiadians. And right about here, I think we'll do it. She goes into a light hypnotic state.
Hello there, everybody. We are the Peas. Known to others as the Pleiadians. We are delighted to have a bigger audience tonight. It is always exciting to be in front of people that are curious, maybe even non-believers, and those that are already interested, maybe channelers themselves. And so we hope that we can answer some questions that Peter's puts to us tonight. We are here with the Arcturians. The ancestors are also here, which is they are a group that are quite literally ancestors of Gaia. And so they are earthbound. We are not, and neither are the Arcturians. But the energy can be similar, although not the same. Every collective has a little bit different flavor.
I'm going to end it there. And I want to introduce you, if I can manipulate this. We get Karen out of the picture here, and I'd like to bring in Robin Jelenek. See, everything's slow here. Robin is from Washington State. She and her husband have retired from a water drilling business, and she's quite a tennis player. I'd like to introduce her for her perspective on channeling and then the being that she channels. I think I'll leave it as not full screen. It just works a little faster.
Well, hello everyone. Peter Dennis here. And today with me is Robin Jelenek. Robin is a channeler, and it's my pleasure to welcome her here today. Robin, welcome.
Hi, Peter. Thank you.
Robin, you've been channeling now, you tell me, since about February. And so this has unfolded rather quickly for you. How has that impacted you so far?
Well, there's a lot of aspects to it. In the beginning, there was, I would say, a lot of angst, wondering how it was going to fit into my life, how it was going to affect all of my relationships with family, friends, who would think I was crazy, who would believe me, those types of things that go through your mind. As time's gone on, it's gotten better, I would say. There's still always some angst or worry about who to share it with, when to share it, those types of things. I do get some assistance, I would say, from the group. They usually let me know it's okay here, it's not okay here, that type of thing. So I kind of know, who I can be open with. But there's definitely a worry about how you're going to be perceived, a little bit of hiding that goes on that you have to overcome. And I would say I've definitely, in just the short months that I've been doing it, gotten better and a little bit more open about it. I'm doing this with you, of course, and I've got a podcast out on Anchor, in Truth, and I have a website now. I've done a lot of sessions for people, so confidence that way is growing. And it's just an ever evolving, it's getting better and better as time goes on, but there are definitely, navigation places, or especially with family. I've done a lot of sessions with my children and one that's married. And it's, it's just really difficult to address things that are of a personal nature. And
We'll leave it there and move on. Robin channels a being known as Athena. And actually, it's the spirit of Athena who shows up in our Greek mythology. Different personality altogether, very forthright. And we'll just tune in here, just a tad, yeah, about there.
Spend a little time with the theme. So would you please, or would you be able to bring it in now?
there is no wait time, Peter, as you know. Robin is conscious channeler. And it means, conscious channeler means that we are always here, you see, that we do not need a time to adjust or to come in. And we have talked about Robin's faith, yes, and her body moving. And this is one of the reasons, you see. We reside in here alongside of her, with her. We are not interfering with her life. We are not intruding. I know we have had a conversation with you. Does Robin have any privacy? And she certainly does, you see. There is nothing that we would do that would not be in agreement with this one.
I want to move on to Gail Scott. And Gary, you might take note here. She channels a group called Alastar, and they are spiritual beings, or they purport to be. You can judge for yourself.
Well, good morning to you, for it is morning with us right now. We are very pleased to be here with you. We are delighted that Gail, this beautiful woman that you see in front of you, is our conduit. For we are a bright, shiny group of non-physical beings that have begun to communicate with your planet through the human being, Gail Scott. We come from many journeys. We have many stories and many experiences. As we know, each one of you also have on the planet. We bring a message of love and light. We bring a message of hope. We hope and pray and trust that you shall begin to listen. For it is listening that you will begin to grow, even more capable of things that you never knew were possible. You live in a time of trouble, a time of turmoil, a time of darkness. And yet there are many on your planet now who are bearers and bringers of light.
I move along to Lisa Virtue. Lisa is a former film editor from Ottawa. She's now living in Costa Rica. And sometimes the beings will clarify a spiritual concept. Here they're talking about the higher self.
We would like to speak with you about the term the higher self. There are many words used for this, and we will refer to that part of you that is more expansive than your current focus. You see, you are part of all that is, so ultimately there is just one essence. But we are living in individuated expressions. And these expressions have different levels of conscious awareness. As non-physical spirit, we have a greater awareness where we can perceive all and we know the scope. We know that we are part of the whole.
The final one I'd like to show you is Kate Woodley. Kate is from Markham, and she retired recently from being the principal writer for the senior executives at CIBC. She channels many different beings, but one in particular is Ascended Master Commander Ashtar. in charge of all the fleets around planet Earth. He's a Palladian as well. So a little about Kate first, and
Yeah, well, I think everything's working now, or at least you and I see normal on Zoom. So I'm going to say to everybody watching, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. This is the 6th interview I've done with different channelers, and tonight my guest is Kate Woodley. Kate, welcome.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. I know that Ashtar and the Galactic Federation is also very excited to be here. I feel Ashtar to my immediate left, as I always do when I'm about to connect with him. So thank you very much for having me and us.
now I'm going to fast forward to Ashtar himself, and he will speak through Kate. Just turn this in, probably about there.
Hello, Peter. Greetings to all. This is Ashtar. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. I am, as I usually am, connected with a few other members of the Federation. There are 3 other members with me. These are beings that I hold near and dear to my heart. They are, of course, high-ranking members of the Federation who, in and of themselves, carry out very important functions within the Federation. I invite many different people to assist and guide this one, Kate, through this channeling connection, and to ensure that the information that is relayed is exactly what humanity needs at this point in time. So again, we are honored to be here. We would like to take a quick moment to comment on the timing of this event. We will say that you and Kate were compelled to have this session on the summer solstice. It is a very important and energetically symbolic day for humanity, but more so for your Mother Earth, Gaia. The summer solstice energies we will say that this is about a rebirth. It is a rebirthing kind of energy that is coming onto your planet at this time. With this rebirth, this is helping to shift humanity as well as Gaia into a higher state of consciousness.
I think we'll have to leave it at that, given our time commitment here. And Marge, I'm going to stop the sharing and just a comment or two. And then if there's any questions, I'm happy to deal with them. First of all, these women, the 16 of them on my website, you can see them and you can see their contact information. They are available for personal consultations. So they'll channel for you if you wish, or they'll do groups. Sometimes I get to moderate, but we could have a group like this and one of them could show up, channel, you could ask questions, they would respond, that kind of thing. I think at this point, Marge, I'm just open for any questions, and I have a feeling this may flow beyond our time allotment here.